I love pawn shops. I find a lot of good deals, but there's a lot of gold out there if you really look. We're going to be doing a short video while I'm home on pawn shops. They won't let me film in them, but I'll show you how I got some good deals and the weird things I could find and what led me to some good deals. If I seem a little under the weather, it's because I am. I don't have the corona. I believe I have the pneumonia. So it's going to be a short, easy video, and I wanted to do another one before I left the house. So as long as I have some air in my lungs, I guess we'll shoot one today. Well, there's not going to be a whole lot of movement in it. So let's get going with some neat stuff I bought, and I'll show you how I got some good deals on some stuff. So let's start off with the first thing. The first thing is I bought this light the other day. It's pretty expensive. It's got LEDs all the way around it. I think it's used, but it's never really been mounted on anything. It's been hooked up once. I can tell because somebody screwed with the connection, so it was plugged in and tested, but from the mounts, it's never been used on a vehicle. But this is why it was so cheap. Somebody dropped it, broke this off here, bent these, plugged it in. The light works flawlessly. That didn't affect the light at all. It was just cosmetic. I ended up giving $50 for this light. It's a fairly expensive light, brand new. But $50 for a never installed LED light, off-road light like this, that's a pretty good deal. And I can turn around and get my money back, so not a bad deal. But little damages like that, if they're just cosmetic, they can knock off a lot of money. Now, if you've seen behind me, you've noticed that I've had things like this ammo box here, and I've got these ammo boxes here. Well, there's no ammo in them. For a while there, these guys were giving these things away dirt cheap. They've kind of gone up in price, and they've kind of gotten a little harder to find. But there for a while, you could buy them for $10 or $15 a piece. Now, I didn't pay that much for a lot of these. And I'll tell you how. It's because when a guy has a lot of them and he wants to get rid of them, he'll make you a deal. You buy 2 or 3 of them at a time, and especially a surplus store or a junk shop, they'll give you a bulk rate if you just take the lot of them. So you pay, $7 to $10 a piece, maybe $11, when everybody else in town's wanting $50 or $20. You got to spend a little more, but you tripled your investment. And this things make good trading fodder, so that's something to think about. If the price is cheap enough, they have multiples, they'll sell it to you in bulk, and chances are, if you have more than you need, you can turn around and resell those to friends or turn around and resell them to another pawn shop and get the gist of your money back. Another example of that was back in the day, surplus military magazines like AR mags and stuff like that were just everywhere. Guys wanted $10 to $15 a piece, but I got them for $5 a piece because I bought a box of them. There was like 30 of them, and I've traded a lot of them off and whatnot, but they're all new. Not new, but they're in good shape. And if you buy these things in bulk and you get them off their shelves, if he has way too many for them and he has to make room, $5 a piece. It's worth a thought. But in today's market, they're probably going for a little more than that, but even at $10 to $12 a piece, you're still getting a good deal. I don't really show too many firearms things on this channel, or any really, because as much as I would have loved to have done a YouTube channel on firearms, the algorithms in YouTube being the way it is, it's really just not so much PC in their eyes anymore. I am an enthusiast, but I keep that to myself. But this was an example of how I struck a deal, and I struck a deal for cheap. And there's one more thing here that was actually kind of interesting, and it is firearms related, so I'll make it quick. It was missing this little pin right here. on both sides. And I got on Numerich, and the pin was $10. The pawn shop did not want to take the time to order a $10 pin. And they sold me both halves of it complete. And now, of course, I did have to do the proper NFA paperwork and all that, like normal. I did buy this legitimately. But I got it for next to nothing because it was incomplete and they didn't want to take the time. Got on Numerich, ordered the part. A week later, the part showed up. Put it together. It's a functioning flawless firearm. But that right there is a good way. You know, I bought rifles with broken extractors or missing bolts and stuff like that. If the gun itself is functional or complete except for it's missing a part or two, these parts are easy to find. Take your time. You can get a great deal if something's missing a part if you know where to get it. This is no exception. And I've got all sorts of exceptions over here, so let's explore some more of those. Now, being a truck driver, you probably guessed I've always been big into CB radios. I love radios. I've got a whole stack of them here. And I bought a lot of these at pawn shops for next to nothing. And let's take for this one right here. This is an old Cobra 148. It's an old one. It was made in the Philippines. It's had the clarifier unlocked. It's got probably, I think we counted up like over 1,300 channels on this radio. And it's turned up. It's a beast of a radio. I've had it tested. I used to run it in the truck a lot. It really gets out. It's actually the radio I like to catch skip on. If you know what you're looking for with old CB radios, I bought that radio in a pawn shop for next to nothing. Guy just wanted to get rid of it. It was just old junk to him. I knew what I was looking at. Flipped it around, saw where it was made. Filipino radios are good radios. The old Cobras that were made in Malaysia were pretty good radios too. The Chinese ones, not so much. You know, you wouldn't believe I actually dug this one out of the trash can. Guys just wanted to get rid of it. It's just a Chinese-made Cobra. Plugged it in and it worked. They were throwing it away. I've got like 6 radios over here people were throwing away. You know, if you don't want them, pick them up. They work. Sell them in a truck stop for $20. $20 is $20 when all you had to do was pick it up out of the trash. Another thing that's big money right now, it's starting to be, everybody likes vintage for their automobiles. Vintage license plates are starting to be a big deal. You know, people want vintage stuff for their cars. So, if you can get a collection of vintage license plates, and especially like these California plates, if you can get them in colors, like these right here, you could sell them on, especially the old black ones, like this. These old black ones, these are bringing big money. And you can find them all over the place. Some guys know what they're worth. Most places don't. Buy them in pawn shops for $5 or $10 a piece. Put them on eBay and sell them. There's a lot of money to be made here, if you're willing to put in the work. But I love license plates, and I'll eventually find a home for all of these. I've been collecting them since I was about 9. I was a weird kid. We're going to sneak out to the garage for a minute. I'm not going to stay too long out there. It's pretty cold, and I'm getting over this. But I'm going to show you some of my greatest pawn shop finds out there. If you can get across a bunch of these old milk crates, they're incredibly handy. Let's see if we can get in here. And that would be a no. I guess I gotta open the big door. Now, while this wasn't a pawn shop find, I got all 4 doors, the front end, the entire interior, the trunk lid, and the radiator support for a Crown Vic. A guy was getting ready to do a body swap and he was showing it on Facebook. So I just called I sent a message to the hot rod shop and say, hey, I'd be interested in buying those parts. And we talked about it and he gave me a smoking deal on all of these. This is probably $1,500 to $2,000 worth of parts in a junkyard. I got all of this for about $420. And here soon he's going to sell me the wheels as soon as they find new wheels for the project. Yeah, there's some headers for I don't know what they're for. These are some of my greatest finds right here. These are 442 wheels. If you look these up online, brand new, they're about $300 a piece. I got all 4 of them with tires for a $100 bill. Now granted, they are used and they do need to be polished up, but they're not rusty on the outside, and they're 15-inch wheels, and they're actually really rare. It's hard to find a good original set of these anymore. And I found one. Mainly, the guy had them out. That's what he had on it. I didn't argue. I mean, you know they're worth more, but are you going to tell the guy you're trying to buy them from, hey, I'm going to give you more money for this? No, you're not. He set the price. It's not worth negotiating because it's a solid price. And truthfully, I did ask him, and he wasn't knocking any more off, so I gave him what he wanted. $100. It was fair. And I used all 4 of those, 3 of the 4 tires I ended up using on different projects, so it all worked out. I've bought a lot of tools in pawn shops, and this is one of them right here. This has been quite handy. It's a Mac torque wrench. I got a great deal on it. Well, used. I give a $100 bill for it, and it's been great. Pawn shops are great places to find specific tools. And it's a great place to find name brand tools. Yeah, truth, lately a lot of these shops have been upping their prices on the quality tools. But if you can find a bulk sale to where they're selling like, one of these toolboxes full of tools taped up, say, $100, take it all, buy it. Chances are, if you've just got a bucket of random tools, there's going to be a lot of good stuff in there. And even if it's not, there's still going to be a lot of stuff in there you can use. I mean, it was junk to them, but it doesn't mean it has to be junk to you. Fear not, this will be coming back in the spring. I need to get back on it. We didn't get it started in the last video with it, and I was a little disgusted, so I just put it aside for the time being, but I'm ready to get it going again, so we'll be back at it here shortly. I just noticed that this tow bar here, I did not give $275 for it, but I gave not even a quarter of that, I don't think. I remember, but that thing's been invaluable. That tow bar has saved me a lot of money. I've towed a lot of cars with it. If you remember my old F-250, I bought that at a pawn shop also. And that was a lot of fun. I was wondering where I left this. It's great coffee. Maybe one of these days they'll sponsor me. In reality, the deals are everywhere. Unfortunately, a lot of the pawn shops are starting to act like more boutique shops now, which I find pretty stupid. They're pawn shops, and a lot of the old junk shops know that they're getting rare, so they're starting to act boutique prices without actually changing anything that they do. It's kind of a vicious circle. I miss the old junk shops with piles of crap you could just dig through. Found the best deals there. And the deals are still out there, but sometimes you have to go a little bit above and beyond. Like, buying those magazines. Do you really think I wanted to buy 30 magazines? Well, yeah, I did. But, to get them for $5 a piece, these ammo cans, I didn't need that many. In fact, I've gotten rid of several. But the price was right. I made my money back. That's what mattered. I find a lot of my old vintage stuff at the pawn shops, like 2-knob stereos, which are starting to be a thing of the past. I like the old 2-knob stereos because I don't like cutting up dashes, especially on these old cars now. A lot of this stuff is non-replaceable. Once you cut the dash, you're just out. So, you know, you kind of have, those are things you have to think about these days. But the deals are out there. So be very familiar with what you're looking at. Know what the market is for it. And you kind of have to start looking towards the future to see if you take a gamble. If you think it's going to be worth something a little more someday, those magazines, there was a no-brainer. I knew they'll be worth something someday. And at $5 a piece, I could turn around the next day and sold them all for $10 a piece. You know, these 2-knob stereos, maybe. It depends on what the guy's going for, if they like anything vintage. The ammo cans, they'll always be worth something. Those Oldsmobile wheels, absolutely. I'll get $250 for those someday. Somebody will pay me for that. Maybe not tomorrow, but there's somebody out there that will. It's all about what you're willing to pay and where you look. So, the most part is just have fun with this. And if you find some good deals along the way, don't be afraid to grab them. But, I digress on that. If you find the deal, be ready to buy. Because you're not the only one out there that's going to think this is a deal. So, if you find the deal, snatch it up. If I hadn't bought that Smith & Wesson, that would have been gone by the end of the day. It was a no-brainer. There are guys out there. If I have a thought, I know it's not original. So, don't think you got a corner on the market. Because somebody else is thinking the same thing. So when you find it, you better be ready to buy. So, it's just a fun little video on finding deals and what I paid and how I found it. So, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. See you later.